What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven here with your afternoon snap, and yesterday, unfortunately, I made a mistake while attempting to cover this tournament. I'll take a look at that right now. This was what I saw when I looked at the event page. It looked like Blasku had won the event. Mr. High is a name that I've seen before, so it wasn't crazy for me to see them get a 4th place finish here. And then I probably scrolled down to like right here or so to see the other top 4 finalists. However, what I did not realize is this actually scrolls further. Now, just by a stroke of luck, Blasku actually was the winner of the tournament, so I did report correctly on that. However, we've got a different top 4 of the event, so we're going to take a look at the actual top 4 deck lists in this video. So like I said, I did at least get the winner of this event correct. That was Blasku playing Hela Lockjaw, and I talked a lot about Hela in yesterday's video, so if you haven't seen that, you can go back and watch that one. I'm still going to keep it up, and I think it's interesting still to see those day 1 Corvus lists, and it'll be interesting to see how Corvus evolves over time in Marvel Snap. But it wasn't quite as dominant as I initially saw on the tournament, or as I initially presented it. I kind of clickbaited with it. It was the new card, and Spider-Man 2099 was also exciting for me to see. I also kind of got clickbaited because I saw that and I got super excited and I just kind of ran with it. I'm trying to get the information out to everyone as fast as I can so that it is still relevant, because Marvel Snap is such a quickly changing game. Unfortunately, I made a mistake in doing so apologies for that, but that is also why I'm issuing this correction today. But let's focus on the actual top 4 here, and Blasku's deck is basically the stock Hela Lockjaw list that we're seeing running around, with the full suite of 4 different big cards: Dracula, Lockjaw, and Jubilee to cheat them out, and then a little discard package in here as well with Lockjaw and Jubilee, also giving you some nice consistency and deck thinning and allowing you to find Hela a little bit easier. This is the most common build of Hela right now, and it's one of the most common decks in the game right now, and it just won a tournament. So it's a pretty decent deck, and definitely something that we're going to be seeing for the next week or so, until maybe some shakeups in the next OTA. Moving on to the other finalist, in 2nd place, we have WW playing Lockjaw Thanos. This is also a really popular deck right now. This is actually what I'm currently playing. A little bit of a different configuration here, not this exact 12, but still this archetype nonetheless. Thanos, really powerful. Lockjaw Thanos, extremely powerful. And I think potentially, of all of the cards in this video, Lockjaw might be the card that is due for a little bit of a nerf, a little bit of a rework of some sort, because it's in the 2 best decks right now in the game, kind of doing like opposite things, but also just doing what it does really well. In Thanos decks, Lockjaw's just insane. You get all of the value out of most of your stones, and then you get to exchange it for a card that could potentially win the lane, or in the case of Leech, potentially win the game. Or Vision, being able to like move between lanes. So all of that is really powerful. I do think that while some people may hate on Leech, it is a necessary part of the metagame right now, with it being one of the best ways to interact with Hela lists. Like I mentioned in yesterday's video, if they have the Leech, or if they have the Hela in their deck, and then they use Lockjaw to find the Hela on the final turn, then Leech doesn't stop them, which I think just is another point in the favor of Lockjaw being way too strong, that it dodges the best tech card against the deck. So yeah, Leech is kind of the hero in this story, and I think Lockjaw is potentially the bad guy right now. Like I said, I'm not playing this exact list, so I don't have Jeff or Wave. I'm instead playing Kyera and Scar in my list. And we're also going to take a look at one more Lockjaw Thanos list in just a second. So we'll talk more about the differences between different builds of the deck once we get into the 4th place deck. But before we get there, let's take a look at the 3rd place list, which is Primus19 playing Shuri, which is not a deck that we have seen get that much press recently because this is a pretty classic list. Not too much has changed. We do see the addition of Alioth in the list now, which plays really well, and Alioth is also a pretty good way to answer Hela because you can stop the on reveal ability of Hela, and that is a deck that typically does not have priority because they're just doing a lot of like setup stuff in the early turn. So there does wind up being a little bit of mind games, whether or not you decide to Alioth in their Lockjaw location or elsewhere. The other awkward thing with Alioth here is armor. You cannot Alioth into the armor location, which typically is not a problem with the deck because your armor location is where you've set up like a huge Red Skull or something with Shuri. However, against a Hela list, playing armor gives them a free location to play their Hela because then you can't Alioth it, and then their plan is to spread out the power with Hela's on reveal ability. So that's definitely something to watch out for, kind of a nombo in the deck, but it's cool that otherwise, like, it's a pretty classic deck list and it's still able to put out some work. I know that Shuri Enjoyer is at the top of the Marvel Snap Global Leaderboard, and they do play Shuri from time to time as well, and it's just cool to see that such a classic deck that hasn't really been dominating in a while can still put up some pretty solid results. And then to round out the top four, we've got Dotsenko also on Thanos Lockjaw. And what I thought would be fun to do is just compare both of these Thanos lists here. So instead of Jeff and Wave, we see Dotsenko playing Mobius and Black Swan, the current season pass card. And these changes aren't like particularly huge. I would say that the second place list is a little bit more typical to what we're used to seeing, but Mobius is a great tech card, and Black Swan allows you to have some different high roll potential and also do some interesting stuff. I talked with Dotsenko actually about a week ago, and I think at some point this weekend I will upload the finals of a different tournament that Dotsenko was in from their perspective, and also playing Thanos Lockjaw. I just kind of sat on that clip. The Valentine's Day week rolled around, and then it didn't make sense to put out the content immediately. And then Cull Obsidian came out as well, so this is before Cull Obsidian, but I still think it's interesting high-level Marvel Snap content. I haven't actually recorded it yet, but I'm gonna watch that game and do live commentary on it. So if you are interested in that and interested in seeing some Thanos Lockjaw in action against a Loki list, a list that we are not seeing featured here, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned because that should be a fun one. But to just take a look at these lists, the reason that I also bring that up is because Dotsenko let me in a little bit on their insight, not really liking Wave because of all of the mirror matches, and Wave in the mirror just allows your opponent to develop a thing. It's like playing Magic in a lot of different mirror matches. Your opponent gets the same benefit out of it as you do, and when you are playing the most common deck, playing symmetrical cards aren't super worth it. Now we actually see WW playing both Psylocke and Wave, which is really cool. Mobius is like the opposite of Wave, and you could play Mobius alongside Wave potentially, but that's a little bit silly. But Mobius is just saying, no, I'm not gonna wave, and you're not allowed to wave either, and if you wave, I got you. That's a really huge card to be able to flip over Mobius. This happened to me on the ladder. Who did it? It was Flying Gnome. If you're watching this, Flying Gnome, I know I DM'd you afterwards to say I'm cutting Wave from my deck, and I did. I cut Wave immediately after that. I flipped over Wave on turn 3. They flipped over Mobius. They got to cheat out a card, and then I didn't, and that was absolutely terrible for me. So Dotsenko's trying to do a little bit of that, then also messing around a little bit with Black Swan. And in the tournament coverage that I have, they are also playing Black Swan Thanos Lockjaw, just without Cull Obsidian because that card had not come out yet. But if you're interested in seeing this deck in action, I think that, yeah, you'll enjoy those videos, even if you don't. If you just want to see some high-level Marvel Snap, and I'll also break down the top 8 of that event, maybe just the top 4. It was a little bit ago at this point, so it's not super it's not as relevant. Marvel Snap, like I said, it just moves so fast. And that was also part of the reason that I put out the video yesterday without like double and triple checking, because I know that if I wait, then the content is like already out of date just because of how fast things move. Now, we're not getting an OTA today, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me today. Can't think of anything else that I really need to say here. As far as comparing these lists, both players have adopted Leech. That's pretty good. Did I share my Thanos list? I don't think I did. So this is currently the Thanos list that I am playing. Not Black Swan, that's superimposed here because I do not own the card. But I am playing Chimera and I'm playing Scar. And I think that that's a nice little combo. I still really like Chimera. Neither of these players choosing to run it today, but I still think that Chimera is really good. And then I'm only playing Psylocke. And I think that Psylocke is still really good when you are running 3 different 5-cost cards, because you can just play Psylocke or Time Stone on 3 in those games where you don't have access to Lockjaw. And then Cull Obsidian also kind of fills the curve and allows you to go Scar plus Stone on turn 5 or 6. So all of those things I think are really powerful, and this deck is still really good. All these decks that I showcased today I think are really good, obviously being able to get to the top 4 of a almost 90-person tournament. But for today, that is going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.